Here we are, start of a new month, and of course that means we're gonna do a reading wrap-up. Hello friends, I'm Rosa, welcome to the channel. So, we are at the start of March already? Like, what the heck? Slow down. 2023, what are you doing? Take a deep breath, just calm yourself down. I don't know where the months are going, but I don't like it. I will also add, I'm already like halfway through my reading goal for the year, so I'm moving at the same speed as the year apparently, and we just both gotta slow down a little bit. But I got 10 books that we're gonna talk about today. 2 of them, or there are 2 series, so 6 of the books are from 2 different series. Got some graphic novels as well. Actually did have 1 DNF, which I am counting as part of the 10 books, so we'll talk about that in a little bit. All of the books will be linked in the description box down below if you want to check them out. They'll be linked to both Amazon and Book Depository, so feel free to do that if you want to. But, do I have anything else to add before? No. Okay, let's get started. So the first book that we're talking about is the book club's primary pick for February, which was For the Wolf by Hannah Whitten, and this is actually the one that I ended up DNFing for the sole reason that I feel like nothing really happened in this one. Like, I don't know how else to explain it. We follow Redaya, I can't remember her full name, but she is the second daughter to the queen, which means that she's supposed to be sacrificed to the forest, like the wolf in the forest, whereas her sister is the first daughter. They're actually twins, but her sister was born before Red was, and she's supposed to be the heir to the throne. And so she is sent off to the woods, and she is both actually grateful that she's sent off to the woods, but also very terrified. She's mainly grateful because she has some powers that she's somehow gotten in some weird kind of way, and she doesn't really fully know how to control these powers, so she's just concluding that if she gets away from the castle and her family, including her sister, at least she can keep them safe, and also the village that the castle is in and stuff. But she's also terrified because every other girl who has been sent to the forest has died, so she's assuming she's gonna have the same fate as the other girls. And that is all I'm gonna say, except when she gets to the forest, it turns out that the wolf is actually not a wolf, he's a man, and there might be a little bit more going on to all of this than she first thought there was. So my problem with this is that I think I read until, let me see, what was last? 260 something, I'm pretty sure. So I read like a big part of it, more than half of it. I want to say like 60% of it or something. I really wanted to give it a shot because I don't like DNFing. I just feel like you can't fully judge a book without having read all of it. However, for me personally, this became very repetitive. It was not as atmospheric as I feel like it could have been. The romance in it, because I do feel like this is actually a fantasy romance, but it was super slow. I felt like I couldn't connect with either of the characters, so when stuff finally started to happen, just like a little bit of it, I didn't feel anything. I felt nothing, and it didn't work for me that way. I also felt like I couldn't really figure out, it's an adult fantasy, and I'm pretty sure that I would personally call it fantasy romance. However, at times it just felt a little bit YA, but like slow-paced YA, because nothing's really going on for a long while, and I'm sure that it's not just because Red just does not know, because that's a thing in some books that I've read, that the narrator just does not know. It's just that nothing was going on. So if you don't like the vibe in this, and if you don't connect with the characters, you're gonna have a hard time going through all of it, and I just personally couldn't get myself to, so I had to DNF because it was making me not want to read, and that defeats the purpose of reading. Like, we're not reading this for lecture purposes, you know? So it was a DNF. I would say the bit that I did read was like a 2-star worthy read, but someone else might like it a little bit more than I did. So that was the first book. I feel like this camera angle is so weird, like I have to sit like ugh, but maybe that's good because I'm sitting on the floor and I'm old and it always hurts my back afterwards. So we're gonna continue trying. Okay. Secondary pick was These Violent Delights by Chloe Gong, which is a YA historical fantasy, mainly historical fiction, but with a dash of fantasy in there. It's a Romeo and Juliet retelling, and it also is kind of quite heavy on the romance, I want to say, but like YA romance. So we follow Juliet and Roma, Her name is actually Juliet, yeah, but with a T-E at the end. We follow Juliet and Roma, who are the heirs to opposing crime families in 1920s Shanghai. They have also been dating, secretly kind of, but were busted, in the past. And then Juliet took off to the US for like 4 years, came back, things have changed, there's a question of betrayal. They're not in a good spot with each other because they can't trust each other. They're on opposing sides in this crime family business. And other than that, Shanghai is also, whereas it was usually like the Shanghai people versus the Russian people, now there's suddenly French people and British people and too many people, too many different sides to compete with and stuff. So, but those are details you don't need to know for the plot, and I don't know why I'm talking about this. But anyway, we follow these two characters as there's a virus kind of situation breaking out through Shanghai, and obviously this is not good for the crime family's businesses. So, because people are dying left and right, like just dying in very gruesome ways. And so the two of them decide to team up despite their families not knowing about this, like no one can know about it. They team up to figure out what is actually going on in Shanghai and how can they stop this virus from continuing to spread as well. And along the way, secrets unravel and the two of them start to question their relationship, and there's like a lot of nudges to, is that how you say that? Nudge to, or like you can really, it's very obvious sometimes that it's a Romeo and Juliet retelling, because like there'll be little things and I'm just like, oh, I recognize that from the original story. I don't actually like Romeo and Juliet, the original one. I like the story. I don't like reading the original one. We read it in English and it's just not, I don't like Shakespeare's writing. Like, it kind of bothers me a bit. I don't know exactly, but that's also like a long time ago, so maybe if I reread it, I'll have a different opinion on it now. But back then, I remember just being a little bit frustrated with it. This was really lovely though. I will say it lost its pacing a little bit. I want to say from like 60 to 80% or something, but I didn't feel like the pacing was that bad. I've seen other people say that they felt like it was very slow. To me personally, I don't think it was. And I just in general had a very good time with this book. Like, I'm really looking forward to going into the sequel because as far as I've been told, the sequel only gets better. So I have high hopes for it because I really, really enjoyed it. I love their relationship as well, and I love Juliet as a character. Like, she's such a badass. You guys know I have a weakness for badassery, female badassery. My one weakness in life. Oh, she can kick or punch. I'm like, I'm sold. I love you. So it was nice to see, like, she's slightly psychotic at times, I'm not gonna lie. Slightly psychotic at times, but like, I love her. So, you know, it is what it is. But definitely YA, so take that into consideration if that is not your thing. But if you do like YA, you want to try out a little bit of historical fiction, it's just, actually, I want to say, actually not heavy on the historical fiction. I'm going to take that back. It's heavy on, well, I don't know, because I feel like the virus is the only fantasy part of it. It's not your typical virus. But that should not come as a surprise. It's just a nice retelling set in 1920 Shanghai. But yeah, I don't know how to word that. But anyway, so enjoyed it a lot. Gave it like around 4 stars. I haven't really put decimals on it yet. So yeah, but those were the 2 book club picks. If you want to check out the book club, there's a link to it at the top of the description box, but also in the pinned comment. So come hang out with us, read Daughter of No Worlds with us if you feel like it. Next month we're reading Frost by C.N. Crawford, which I'm also looking forward to. So I don't know, come join if you want to. And then on a whim, I decided, and then it was like, I gotta do this. I was reading Amina, The Adventures of Amina al-Zarafi, which I'm still reading, and not because I'm not enjoying it, but I'll talk about that in vlogs and stuff. It's just taken me a while to get through it. So what happened was that I entered my office one day, and when I entered the office, the first shelf that I can see, or the first shelves, they're my then sci-fi shelves, which they're not anymore, but that's also going to be included in a vlog. I've made some arrangements, or like I have changed certain things in my office. I might have done something on a whim, such as, I'll show you. My books now look like this. Yeah. So we'll have some fun with that, I suppose. But my sci-fi shelf was over there. My door is right there. And I entered my office needing to read a new book. And the first thing I look at is, of course, Illuminae, which is standing right in front of me. So I was like, I gotta do it. I have to pick it up. I gotta read it. So happy that I did, because This was so good. So this is YA sci-fi with a little bit of romance in there as well. In the first one, but I also read the other two. I read all three, and I read them so quickly as well. Like, they were over with so quickly. But I would definitely reread at some point. So, but anyway, in the first one though, we follow, which one is the first one? Katie. We follow Katie and Ezra, who are boyfriend girlfriend, and they have been living on this like settlement on some kind of planet or spaceship. I don't really know, never got that detail, but some settlement somewhere in the universe, which is then attacked, and the two have to flee. So they do. They end up on separate ships out of like 3 ships in space. 3 ships that are traveling together. They have to get to this other place because that's where they can be safe again. So they're kind of on the run. I say run because like they're in space flying. They're on the fly, but that doesn't sound right. But anyway, they're on 2 separate ships because they didn't end up on the same one. The third one gets attacked after a virus spreads out as well. Like a virus goes a little bit crazy on these spaceships, and there's an AI that's gone rogue as well. Like a lot of stuff happens. Katie has to figure out a way to stop all of this, especially the virus, because it's ruining everything. And at the same time, the two of them are also kind of like working out their issues and stuff, because it turns out that they actually do really like each other, and like why are they breaking up and stuff. So, and there's like family ties as well, and a lot of deadlines and emotions, and I hope I didn't. Oh right, yeah, there's also an enemy warship that is on the in hot pursuit of them as well. So like there's a lot going on, like a whole lot. And it's so much fun. It's so much fun. So I want to show you because this is not written as a regular book. And I know that most people have probably read these by now, but I'm gonna try to find a page without any spoilers on it whatsoever. Okay, so we got like documents, chat logs, surveillance camera summaries, and posters, and who is it? Not in this book, but what is your name? Hannah. Hannah in book 2, she paints a lot, or she doesn't paint, she draws a lot. She has a notebook that she draws in. I think that was Hannah at least. I'm gonna show you, but I'm gonna show you the very first page because otherwise you're gonna be like, what's going on? What's that? Okay. Like she draws a lot in her notebook as well. And there's just a little bit of like everything, some weird pages as well. Oh, this is cool. I can't show you. I'm sorry. That was so annoying. There's also from the AI, like there's a lot of weird stuff going on in this book, and there's like stuff from the AI as well, so there's like, it's very weird in a way, but like it works. You have to kind of get used to the reading or the writing, reading it like this because it is documents that are put together, but it just works. Like it's very cohesive still. They've managed to do this very well. So I ended up reading all 3 in like no time whatsoever, especially the 2 first ones. Then I had to take a short break because I was reading the book club pick and vlogging, but then I went back to the 3rd one and finished it in no time whatsoever, and these were really good. So the first 2, I think I ended up giving them over 4.5 stars, and then the last one like a little bit less than that. I felt like the last one the pacing was a little bit off compared to the other 2, but like the whole concept, the characters, we have female badassery like all over the board in these ones, and I just love it so much. I love the characters, I love the relationships, both with partners but also family ties, and it's sad, and there's a lot going on, and like it's how do you say that? They're gonna be sitting at the edge of your couch or chair reading these because like so good. It's like watching an action movie, but with emotions. Not like those classic ones where nothing happens. You know the ones I mean. Okay. So I enjoyed this so much. I know that I've been told I needed to read them as well. Now I did. And I'm keeping them because I definitely want to reread them at some point. So I'm so sad that I didn't tab them. But I read too quickly and suddenly the books were over. And I'm like, why did you not pull out your tabs? Hello? Anyway, it happened. So The Illuminae Files by J. Christoph and Amy Kaufman. So good. So we got 5 more books to talk about. Yes. I read 2 graphic novels. I finished this. I'm pretty sure I didn't talk about this in the last wrap up. If I did, this is awkward, but I'm pretty sure I didn't. So this is Watchmen by Alan Moore. Actually, I'm just gonna check if I did. I think I've already triple checked, but I'm pretty sure I didn't. It's just I finished it on the 1st of February, so I'm like, did I talk about it in the wrap up? I don't know. No, it's definitely not there, so we're gonna talk about it today. So this takes place in 1985, New York. We follow various characters, you can see them here on the page, and they are superheroes. But think like humans with no powers. They just like to dress up and play vigilantes, yes. Except from this guy. This guy has gone through a little bit of an experiment. He's a scientist and he was, something happened to him. I'm not going to tell you what it was because you're going to learn it in the book. But something happened to him and, he's got some kind of powers, like he's the exception. But we follow them in 1985 New York as someone is killing masked or unmasked vigilantes or unmasked superheroes as they call them. So this guy, his name is Rorschach, he sets out to figure out who's doing the murdering, who's killing his fellow superheroes. And it turns out that there's a lot more going on to this than just killing unmasked superheroes. And like the plot sounds so simple, but this is not simple in any way whatsoever. There's a lot going on in this, but it's also commentary on the world situation at the time that it was written, but somehow is still very relevant to this day. There's a lot of talk about the Cold War as well. Obviously it's in the 80s, so that's kind of to be expected. There's a lot of talk about, how do I say stuff without, first of all, getting hit by YouTube, but also relationship talk. There's a little bit of that as well, but also just like society in general, and it's a lot. Okay, but it's very, very, like, I could see why this would not be for everyone. So first of all, what you need to know about Watchmen is that, without being a graphic novel expert in any way whatsoever, but what I've learned after both reading this and also reading about Watchmen is that this was like one of the first darker kind of graphic novels in this wave of pessimistic graphic novels, I want to say, centered around superheroes at least. And it's just this, and also the Dark Knight Returns, I think it is, started like a wave of more gritty and dark kind of graphic novels. I think that's what they call the Silver Age, and then it's the Golden Age before that, but now we're getting into terms that I don't want to talk about because if I'm not right about this, I'm gonna be embarrassed. But as far as I know, that's what I've learned, at least reading about Watchmen. So it's like, in graphic novel history, this has a very important spot. It is also very heavy on the text, which is something that I have seen other people, as someone who reads a lot of books, so novels, I don't mind. I'm used to text, but I've seen a lot of people complain about it because it's like, it's a lot of text, but that's Alan Moore's style. That's just how he does it. There's these like chapters or pages, documents in between chapters that might not seem like they're relevant. You technically don't have to read them, but you also get a lot of information about the characters and like previous superheroes, because there's been 2 different generations of superheroes and now we're following the 2nd generation of them. And just in general, like, it has a lot of stuff in it, like a lot of questions about relationships and family, and I'm trying to like not talk too much because I don't want to spoil anything. How do I explain this? It's one of those I'm also having a hard time really justifying why I think it's so good, but I just had that feeling when I read it. Does that make sense? Like, when you're reading something and you just know that it's good. Like, I don't know. It's like when you're watching one of those Oscar movies, although I studied movies in school, so like I can probably justify that better than I can justify why I think this is good. But I just have that feeling when I read it, you know? Like, the ending was wrapped up a little bit quickly, and like you didn't have to explain the whole plot at the end. You didn't have to explain why certain things were done the way that they were done at the end, but it's fine. Like, sometimes you also have to rely on the reader to just kind of know, or to put 2 and 2 together themselves. But aside from that, I still gave this a 5 stars. Because, again, I don't know how to put into words exactly why I felt like this was so good, but there was something about it while reading it. Plus the commentary, and I love the dark vibe to it as well. Even though if I show you the color style, you're gonna be like, that's not dark. But trust me, the content is. It might be colorful, but the content is really dark. Plus, as far as I know as well, as far as I've been told, the coloring style in this is also very different from previous graphic novels of the time. It's just, the best way I can describe it is pessimistic. pessimistic, but like good pessimistic. Yeah, and shocking, definitely shocking, and thought-provoking as well. Like you're gonna want to discuss this, or you're just gonna hate it and be very, very frustrated with it because it is a bit of a slow one. Because I read reviews on it because I was curious what other people were thinking, and I read a couple that were like, superhero comics are supposed to be funny. I'm like, this is different. But I get it, like superhero comics, sure, a lot of them are supposed to be funny, but I have always liked, I think I said this in a vlog as well, where I was actually reading Watchmen. So as much as I love Marvel, the universe is like, I love everything that they do. I even love the bad movies. That's just how it is. They stick to a formula, in my opinion, it works. But my favorite superhero movies of all time is actually the Batman trilogy, because it's just so dark and gritty and it hits me in a different way. I like that vibe more than the colorful fun vibe. Not to mention those movies are really well made as well, with physical effects and everything, and the whole story. I mean, okay, we're not gonna talk, but at least the sequel has like a really good story arc and stuff. But I don't know, I think I like that vibe more than I like the fun, colorful one. So like this was up my alley, but it might not be up everyone's alley. If you're definitely like a full-on Marvel person, don't go into this because that's not where you're getting from this. But anyway, I'm gonna stop talking now. So the other graphic novel that I read was volume 2 of Monstress by Marjorie Liu, which, oh gosh, I have issues summarizing the first one, like this setting in general, whenever I try to. It's like, it's very heavy on the world building. Okay, first off, I want to show you the style, because the style in this is very Art Deco, steampunk, very cool, like, I think like a lot of gold details and stuff. A lot of cute animals, and some of them are mean. But you're like, oh, you're so cute, and then it turns out that they're just like super mean. But like, look at this fox. The fox is so cute. The fox is on the cover. I love the fox. But anyway, very heavy on the world building. We are in a world where the Arcana and the witches have been at war. So we follow our lead girl here, who is technically an Arcana, there we go. So the Arcana are like, they are humanoids, but at least most of them have like some kind of like animal thing to them. She doesn't actually, but her like, there's a member in her family way back when who was a wolf or something like that, but like a wolf on 2 legs that can talk. So yeah, the witches are witches, but don't think like pointy hat witches, think like Art Deco costume witches. But they've been at war, and so we follow this girl who is an Arcana, technically, and she has been taken prisoner at the start of the first one, or not prisoner, but like she's basically been kidnapped and is being sold or something, and she goes on the run after this. And it turns out, I'm speaking slowly now because I don't want to spoil anything, but as it turns out, she's got some powers that she's not really able to fully control, or something weird going on with those powers. And essentially both the first and the second volume is about her traveling through this world, trying to find answers from her mother about these powers and also what happened to her mother. And also she has this friend that she was supposed to meet up with, but she can't figure out where she is, and she's accompanied by these two. So our little wolf, and I forgot what these are called, but they're cats and they're very wise and magical. And it's about her like being on the run from literally everyone in this world, where everyone's just trying to get to her and possibly kill her, and it's very brutal. It's kind of scary at times. It's very gritty, it's very bloody, very gory, and also kind of cute. Like, I don't know, it's kind of cute at the same time. I don't know. So I hope I managed to only speak about the first one. There was also a question about a mask and a bone. Yeah. But this is fun. This is interesting. The world is very interesting. I'm trying to like remember exactly. All right, yeah. We have some character development in this one as well. My favorite part of it is the fox though, is all I'm gonna say. But I gave this like 4 stars, or around 4 stars. Very much looking forward to going into the third one, because the ending in this one definitely set it up to, oh, I can show you this. If you want to see, like, when I say that it's bloody gory, I mean it. So That is the thing. But yeah, the ending in this one definitely implies that something interesting is going to happen at the start of the third one, so I'm very curious to go into it. But it's really difficult, I think, with graphic novels to summarize them, because suddenly you're at volume 7, but you can't really tell, like you can't really talk about what's happened up until that point because spoilers, but also because they are so short, I'm having issues like splitting the volumes apart. So I don't think I actually spoiled anything, but I also didn't say too much about the story. It's interesting though, it's very interesting. And those were my physical books. So I also read 3 on Kindle, and they were read very, very quickly. So I read The Bone Witch by Ivy Asher, and then the sequels that are called The Blood Witch and also The Bound Witch. And these are urban fantasy, adult, and I want to say like bit like urban fantasy romance, very heavy on the romance, although the first 2 books do not include any smutsy situations at all, just want to say. So if that is not your thing, like if you don't like smut, the first 2, none of it whatsoever. I enjoyed them. Do not get me wrong, that's not, like, I enjoyed them. I actually think I like the first 2 better than the third one because suddenly there was some and like it took up space that I felt like the plot could have utilized instead of those situations, if you get what I mean. But in this book, in the first one, we also follow her in the sequels, but only gonna talk about the story in the first one. So we follow our lead girl whose name is Lennox, or just Lenny, and her grandmother has just passed. So her grandmother was known as, she was the Bone Witch. There are several different Bone Witches in this world, however, not a whole lot of them, and the way that magic is like brought to the next generation is that whenever someone with these powers dies in the family, someone else in the family, a younger person, gets the powers. So Lenny has always thought that her cousin was gonna get the powers. She's never really been interested in this witch business. It's just not been like her thing. She knew for sure that her cousin was gonna get the powers, so why would she bother trying to learn about it when she's not gonna be able to actually perform magic in the future? However, one day she wakes up, she enters her kitchen, and there on the table is a bag of bones, and she's like, oh shoot, I know what this means. My Grammy is dead, I'm the next Bone Witch, this is a shitty situation. So her family calls her and they're like, did you get the bones? And she's like, yes, I did. And because of this, she has to go to this place, this store that her grandma used to run, where she would do like different readings for people, bone readings as they call them, so they can like talk to dead people and just help with different situations. It's actually very interesting. I like that part of it. And when she gets there, she is surprised by this very tall, handsome, you know, the tall, dark and handsome kind of type guy who shows up. And he's like, are you whatever her grandma's name was? And she's like, no, but I'm her granddaughter. And it kind of hits him like, oh, you're the next Bone Witch. And she's like, yeah. And then he does something weird because he basically binds her to him as his familiar, which she's not too happy with. And that's fully understandable because this means that she's basically like his helper all of a sudden. She's not supposed to be, but he's like, listen, I need your help, so I'm gonna make you my familiar. See, I don't agree with that decision, but anyway. She decides though, you're not gonna get away with this. I'm gonna make you my familiar too. So she casts a spell on him, she says the ritual, and they end up, instead of being each other's familiars, they end up being tethered, so they're bound to each other. And so the issue that he needs help with is his brother has gone missing along with a lot of other bone witches in this community. And when I say a lot, I mean like 4 other ones, because there really aren't a lot of bone witches. And so with her being a bone witch, he's kind of figuring that she can help finding his brother, and also these other bone witches. And as they start to dig into this, they find out that there's a whole lot more going on to this kidnapping business than they first thought there was. And even though the two of them also don't really get along because of the whole tethered thing, unwillingly being tethered to each other thing, they start to slowly like get a little bit closer, and you know. Okay, so that is the first book. The other 2 kind of just built on this whole, I cannot talk all of a sudden. It went so well up until this point. It kind of builds on top of this kidnapping business. When I say that, it sounds like there's actually like a business that deals in kidnappings. That's not what I mean. But you guys get the point. Okay. So I will say I enjoyed they're very short, first of all. So pacing wise, it's very like start to finish. There's not a whole lot of breaks. There's something going on all the time. The romance I enjoyed, but there were certain points where I was a little bit frustrated with them. Some it also seemed a little bit, I don't know, predictable as well. And then when it finally like settled, yes, I liked it, but could have gone without a couple of the smut scenes in the last one because it was like 230 pages and like we had some things to wrap up, if you get what I mean. So like could have gone with just like 1 or 2 scenes less. But it was also a slow burn that was basically split up over 3 books. So I understand the need to finally actually reward this slow burn situation. I'm saying that if like smut is not your thing, just be aware of that. There is stuff in the 3rd one. You can skip it. It's not important to the story. Although I will say, no, you can skip it. You'll be fine. Language wise, this is also, so it's urban fantasy, it's contemporary fantasy, and it's very modern language. So it's very like day-to-day talk, which personally, I really enjoy that for certain books, including this one. But if that's also not your thing, I just wanted to point it out because it's like very everyday prose. Like it's very how I am talking to you right now, like that sort of talk. And we also have like, so there's a lot of witches in it. He's also a witch, this guy that she's tethered to, but there is also werewolves. There's a magical society and just, yeah. A lot of fun stuff in these. I actually really enjoyed them. Just the 3rd one went a little bit slower than the rest, but at least the first 2 I really enjoyed. So would definitely recommend if you're looking for like urban fantasy with romance, but that's not like in your face romance. Although the romance is a big part of it, but it's not like, you know. Okay, so I think that is all I got for you guys today. Yeah, I feel like I've been talking for ages, so I needed to get some stuff off my chest. I hope you enjoyed this wrap up. If you've read any of the books that I've talked about, leave your thoughts on them down below. If you can hear my upstairs neighbor doing whatever, also let me know. I don't know what's going on. It's very weird. But that's all I got for you guys today. So like I mentioned, the books are all linked in the description box if you want to check them out. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. So if you enjoyed this video, feel free to give it a thumbs up. And if you want to see more videos like this from me, but also TBR videos, we do bookish unboxings, reading vlogs as well have made a comeback, and you know, all the other booktube stuff. Definitely consider sticking around by clicking on the subscribe button. But that is all I got for you guys today. So I hope you all enjoyed it, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye bye. Oh, you know,